on Kevin De Bruyne, because we know now that his incredible decade at Man City is coming to an end. Are you just trying to savour every moment of playing alongside a Premier League great?
Yeah, well, it's not the best news to receive, as you can imagine. More than the player he is, he's a friend, and he's a very special person to all of us, obviously to the club, to the fans, but personally to all of us. And obviously right now it's a time to savour every single second that we can have him. What he's done is just special. There's so many adjectives to classify it, but I'll just remain as special. And yeah, it's enjoy every moment. Try and make this time because we're still in 2, 3 with the FIFA World Cup, the Club World Cup. We're still in 3 competitions, and try and make it as best as we can, because he deserves it. Personally, as one of the members of this team, I want it for him more than for anything else, and he deserves it. So savour every moment. Yeah.
Thank you. Well said.
Thank you.
Just feels like that door is still open for Kevin De Bruyne around the Club World Cup at the end of this season. We'll wait and see what he and City decide to do around that. But let's put his career on paper, if it's possible, at Manchester City. 414 appearances. 106 goals. His trademark was from outside the box, 41, but look at the weight of assists, 169. And that helped his team to 6 Premier League titles, 13 major trophies in all, including the Champions League, 2 FA Cups, 4 League Cups along the way. Only Ryan Giggs with more Premier League assists than Kevin De Bruyne. The best minutes per assist ratio in Premier League history, and one of 7 players to be named PFA Player of the Year twice. Roy, what was it that marked him out as different, as special?
I think them stats. You know, when you think... we've been sitting here today frustrated about lack of goal action and putting the ball in the back of the net. He'd done that as a midfielder, and his assists are absolutely fantastic. I think he made everything look easy. That's when I judge a player, I always seem to be fighting the ball. When he's in possession, he always looks he's in total control. Of course, it's been difficult the last year or 2 with injuries, but when he was in his prime, I think as good as any midfielder in the Premier League, particularly from an attacking point of view. And his stats there with the assists, plus the goals, is, I think, pretty amazing.
So you would have him in your all-time Premier League 11?
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah, I'd have him in there.
Ooh. Do you think he's got some sort of unique characteristics, almost excelling in a certain position on the field, Gary?
Yeah, because he's not your classic central midfield player or a right winger or a number 10. He plays in that sort of right pocket. And the players that I sort of reminds me of when I watch him are David Beckham and Steven Gerrard in terms of the crosses that he puts in. And these players are some of the best players we've ever seen in the Premier League, and Kevin De Bruyne would be my all-time Premier League 11 as well. I think he's been the best player in the Premier League for the last 7 or 8 years. And he puts crosses into a box that make defenders not know whether to want to actually touch it, leave it, because it's in an area whereby it's so dangerous. In between you and the goalkeeper, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's predictable, actually, in terms of reading him. So was Beckham and Gerrard, but the problem is you still can't do anything about it because the precision and the accuracy is so good. He's an absolute world-class player, and the delivery, for me, that's something every time I watched him was just a thing of beauty.
So 2 out of 4 have got him in the all-time 11. Pressure now.
Yeah.
Is he in yours as well, is he?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, fond admirer of any attacking midfielder who scores goals, assists, and the way that he does, and the way that he plays football. I think his best moments have come off the cuff. You know, we spoke before the game a bit about, you know, Man City, you're going to hate this methodology and system and, you know, all of that. And that is how they've got their success. But I think some of De Bruyne's best moments have come from him picking up a loose ball and just fizzing it into space. We've seen it with Bruno Fernandes a little bit. You know, he's got that capacity to do that. And De Bruyne has been doing it so consistently in the last 10 years.
The quality, Micah, but would you also say there's a really impressive athlete within there as well?
Yeah, he had pace. I think that's what we see now with the way he plays now. He's not got that extra yard he had a couple of years ago. Yeah, exactly that. And I played with Yaya Toure and David Silva. And, I thought they were the best players, but I think he's just outed them over this last couple of seasons. David Silva was more of a touch technician, get the ball deep and play through the lines. Yaya Toure was so good on the ball, he could burst forward and play a pass. But Kevin De Bruyne, his numbers are just different gravy. What a player he's been.
Well,
Absolute legend.
We can compare his numbers with the very best of the creative attacking midfield players we've seen in the Premier League. Here's the list that we've conjured up, including the two you mentioned, Micah, David Silva and Yaya Toure. So if you're picking your Premier League all-time 11, there's perhaps room for 2, maybe even 3 of these.
No, because you've not got Vieira and Roy in there, players who, to be fair, are completely different. That's why I think sometimes when you're talking about sort of midfield players, now these are attacking midfield players, and De Bruyne is right up there. I mean, that stat of the minutes per goal and assist, the 111, is so much greater than the rest if you look at it. It's incredible. The contribution to games. And what Kevin De Bruyne played in that right channel quite methodically. However, if the team needed it, he would then widen himself and go and get on the ball and make crosses into the box. And he would always be that player that would do what the team needed to win the game. I always felt he was a difference maker. Whereas obviously the players you've mentioned, David Silva and Yaya Toure, amazing players, but they weren't difference makers like De Bruyne. I mean, they could impact a game. But De Bruyne, for me, won City so many games. He was the pressure he put on with the crosses and his passing were unbelievable.
So does that a goal or assist every 111 minutes, does that make him the very best in that position?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's won a treble, he's won 6 Premier League titles. He's absolutely right at the very top. He's done everything that you could ever ask for in the Premier League. He's right at the very top.
Just to add to what you were saying, I think Kevin De Bruyne is amazing. The only thing I would say about David Silva and Yaya Toure, they were playing with lesser players at the time.
Like
me. I knew that's what you were angling for, Dave, anyway. But they got us to a first FA Cup and then got us over the line, the Premier League. And I think Kevin coming at a right time, where they'd already run it and they're coming to a great team under Pellegrini, and then he goes undone.
Yeah, but a compliment with that, then he's outstanding with a lot of brilliant players, Micah.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That's another star sign for him to say he can still be head and shoulders above brilliant players around him later on in his career. That's what the great players do.
So if he is in a great team and he stands out amongst those great players, does that make him the best on that list?
And these are all brilliant players on here. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant stats, brilliant careers, good characters, all these lads. All contributed brilliant to the game. But if, again, you're talking about your best 11, you'd have to have De Bruyne in there.
Steven Gerrard's got to be in there as well. He was my favourite.
You can start hedging your bets now.
Yeah, he was my favourite, honestly. He could do absolutely... You mentioned about positions and stuff, but Steven Gerrard...
You've got 5 in midfield, haven't you? You've got Yaya, David Silva, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, Steven Gerrard. That's right.
Izzy, how do you possibly rank those great names?
You can't. I mean, it comes down to subjective, like what you like, how you value football, how you see the game. I mean, for me, I modelled my game on Frank Lampard, late arriving into the box, goal-scoring midfielder, and he just made a career of it, the way he arrived. I mean, how many of his goals were the same? The way he timed his runs, he looked at the players around him. I thought he adapted really well in games. But for me, De Bruyne, he's just completely modernised. The dynamism of the way that he plays football, he picks up the balls, he drives into space, and it's actually been quite sad to see him in recent years. I remember first game of last season at Burnley away, and he picked up a hamstring injury again, and then he was out for a while. Champions League final, he's picked up a hamstring injury, and it's sad to see because you think over the course of his career how much high-speed running he's done and how much he's taken the games by the scruff of the neck, that he's not able to sort of hit that any longer, and we've seen it, disappointing performance from him today, but it doesn't reflect at all on what he's done in this Premier League.
And doesn't something unite all those players on that list as well, Roy, that when their team really needed them, they found that X-factor moment?
Again, that's what all the great players do, and that's what the top players, they affect games. When you look back at all the great games, and people like Gerrard and Scholes and all these lads, you remember them for stepping up in the big games and big moments, and that's why they're top players, obviously.
What's it like being a great player, though? Come on, tell us what it's like.
Me?
Yeah.
I played in a great team.
You was a great player, Roy. Come on.
No, absolutely not.
Gary.
No, I wasn't on a level with them.
He was a great player. But we're not attacking. He wasn't attacking midfielder in his younger career, but he was a great midfield player, all-round midfield player, like sort of Patrick Vieira, and maybe. But you wouldn't put him in the attacking midfield player stats, would you? That's why I said it'd be unfair to say who's the best midfield player in the Premier League when you haven't got Patrick Vieira on it and Roy Keane on it.
You keep saying both of them. Are you having both in your team, by the way?
No, I mean, I know I'd pick Roy before Patrick, but that's not because Patrick's a great player. But I would pick Roy before Patrick. But then I love Paul Scholes as well. So the reality of it is, you are trying to cram so many great players into a team, but you would have to play 3 in midfield.
But it's Scholes in your team.
The key is surround yourself with good players. They make you look a bit better. That helps.
Yeah. Is Scholes in your team as well?
Oh yeah.
What do you play?
And Beggs, Steve Gerrard.
3-6-1.